Hi, and welcome back to the Ascension Playground. This is Ursie, and I want to thank San Francisco Vicky for being super patient with me and others who are on the list. Okay, I'm back and I'm having so much fun, but I do have an announcement to make. Julia Balaz has rebranded her calculator. It is now www.galacticastro.com. I'll go on my screen and I'll show you all so that you can have a real clear idea of when you go searching for it. It is now Galactic Astro Chart singular.com. And the reason is with the Star Seeds Astrology, it just got too close to another website. And so we're focusing here now on Galactic Astro Chart. It's the same calculator. In fact, the calculator has been upgraded. Okay, San Francisco Vicky, here we are. I plugged in your natal information, and this is what I'm seeing in the basic report. So when we just look at what are the constellations showing up for you as far as your soul journey within the Milky Way galaxy and our solar system, we see the Andromeda constellation, Andromeda, Canis Major, Lyra, Pisces, Hydra, Draco, and 2 more Andromedas. Fascinating, right? Well, in the basic report, which is the generate the basic report, when you push on that, you're going to get this little abbreviated list of just your conjunctions and oppositions. These show a clear potential, very strong potential for a lifetime within those star systems because of the nature of the conjunction and opposition. All right, that's just telling us where in the heavens you were. Where were you? Well, these are the constellations. But to find out more specifically the fixed stars, that's where we move to generating the extended report. And I've clicked both of these boxes. Again, this is for San Francisco Vicky. When I click on that, I'm scroll down here. All right. Where did you first originate? I'm going to have to move down to your Pluto line. Your Pluto sits in the sign of Virgo at 7 degrees, 43 minutes in the 11th house. All right, so who's with Pluto for you is Hyades, Canis Major, and Draco. So we're looking for conjunctions or oppositions, and we find that your origin, the first star nation that you originated into this area was on the fixed star Tuban, Thuban. But look how close this is, 0 degrees and 16 minutes. That's a really tight conjunction. If you figure how far Pluto is out in our solar system, and it is conjuncting at such a very minor orb, that's pretty remarkable. Look at all these other places you've been. My goodness. But I'm going to go to the top now because we're looking at your most recent lifetime. So on your sun line, we're looking for conjunctions or oppositions. And here, the very first one we find in the Andromeda constellation, you have a conjunction, not to a fixed star, Vicky, but you have it to what's called the Andromeda galaxy. It's called Vertex M31. So because you're so special and you waited, I'm going to show you a little bit on this one side of what is that? Here we go. I went to a place called Constellation of Words. This is this website. Excuse me while I scroll up. Learn about the world of the stars above us. I think this is a very good site to have if you want to learn about fixed stars and their stories. Okay, so this is what it says, Vertex, and here's your Andromeda M31. Now this picture of the chained princess Andromeda in the sky, you see all of her fixed stars, those little black dots, Almach, Mirak, Alpheratz sits at her crown. I'm pointing out Alpherots, Vicky, because that's one of the fixed stars you have a very specific aspect to that we'll talk about later. Your ascendant is actually opposite Alpherots. But when we wanted to find out, you know, where was your most recent lifetime, we found M31 Andromeda. And do you see where it says vertex here? M31? It sits basically on her thigh. All right. And then in this website, they're saying that the vertex is the Great Andromeda Nebula. It's a spiral galaxy. It's a dense cluster of stars situated on her thigh. Look at that. That's where you've come from. It's more of a stargate or portal than it is a fixed star. But get this part, Vicky. The nebula, well, is referred to as a vertex, okay, but it was called the Great Nebula, the queen of the nebulae. And according to Wikipedia, it has 1 trillion stars. Oh my gosh. And they were talking about it back in 905 AD. Oh, they called it the little cloud. My goodness. Okay, well, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. So imagine that when we start looking at the heavens above, and, you know, we think so much like ground. Okay, where were we? We were looking for physical ground. And instead, your most recent lifetime is not necessarily ground. It's a nebula of 1 trillion stars. So what does that tell me? It tells me to pay attention and look a little bit deeper at your astrology. So the next step, I'm going to go take a look at your regular natal astrological wheel on astro.com. Okay, so let me share my screen again and move over. Thank you very much. This was, oh, here's a little bit more if you decide to look into the story, Vicky, of Andromeda, which is a fascinating myth. And the mythology carries an energetic frequency that is embodied in the constellation. That's how that rolls, okay? But this site, in case anyone else listening wants to go visit, Constellations of Words. I've used this site several times, so it's kind of like a free book. So I can kind of like, okay, what's that mean? You know, and I go over here to Constellation of Words. All right, so let's go see your chart on astro.com. Here, I'm going to bring in the try not to get, there we go. San Francisco, Vicky, Here we go. So Vicky, what you're seeing here is the regular wheel of astrology. And I know if you're not used to looking at these round wheels, some people are saying it's confusing. But the first thing you notice about yours, or I notice about yours, is, my goodness, lots of interesting oppositions, a lot of red lines going across, weaving patterns. And we look at where your planets are placed, and okay, they're pretty much sprinkled around, but there's quite a bit in this area of your chart. So below the horizon and above the horizon. So a nice balance there. So we typically start with looking at your ascendant, and the ascendant for you is in Libra. See this little sign, 14 degrees, 3 minutes of Libra. That's how you show yourself in the world, very balanced, perhaps judicious, always looking at both sides of a story. The issue can sometimes be, and you can test this for accuracy, is you see both sides so clearly it's hard to make a decision this way or that. What do you want for dinner? I don't know. It all sounds good. Okay. Well, I'm going to come back to this later, but your ascendant is in Libra, and right across where you see this red line, well, there's a lot of red lines, but this one right across from Libra is its opposite, called Aries, and Aries is at your descendant. Okay, so we're going to go around the wheel and we're going to look for your sun. And the sun is right here, this beautiful sun in the 7th house. Now your sun is very interesting because it's, look at up here, Vicky, the 29th degree and the 29th minute and 48 seconds of Aries. That means it's the very, very end of Aries. I mean, how much more can you get to the end of Aries before you're pushed into the next sign? So here's Aries. The next sign would be Taurus. But what this is saying to me as your sun is the late degrees of Aries. So, and it's exalted. See that? So Aries loves being in the position, or the sun loves being in Aries, but this 29 degrees, 29 minutes. Here's your sun, and it's opposite your moon. So you have a moon opposite your sun, and the moon is also 29 degrees. In this case, 55 minutes, 29 seconds, even closer to 30 than your sun was. My goodness. So what this says, because I have a sun-moon opposition, is sometimes how we feel inside and what we want to do outside have a hard time matching up. You know, our desires, our will, and then what we actually do. So there's this conflict, and it speaks again to this idea of Libra, of seeing both sides so well, so balanced, but it's like, gosh, what do I decide? They both look good. You know, what do I want? Fruit salad or yogurt? I don't know. They're both good. Okay, but going back to your sun, it is exalted. It's so happy where it's sitting. When I look down here, your Venus is happily at home in Taurus. Your Mars is happily at home in Aries. Your Jupiter is happily at home in Pisces, which is the ancient ruler. And then your Saturn in Aquarius is happy in domicile, where it is in Aquarius, the ancient ruler. But the one to watch out for is you have where your Uranus is in Leo. That's in detriment. But look at how much you've got stacked up to positive. You had to have one that's going to help balance. So what that means, your Uranus in detriment. Let's see where it sits here. I'm going to go around the wheel. Way up here in the 11th house. So things could happen suddenly within your networks, your associations, your friendship groups, suddenness. So we'll have to go talk about that on another day. But since this is a mini, we wanted to talk about the ascendant, the moon, and the sun. But before we move on, I just want to see, look at this from the ascendant up to your true north node. This is where the trajectory of your life, this is what you came here to do, right? To be Leo in the 10th house, really trying to speak from the heart in your career, moving towards the spotlight, though it may not feel comfortable. Okay, but then remember we talked about Uranus? That could have sometimes things kind of blow up on you out of nowhere because Uranus is in detriment in Leo right here. But that's in the 11th house of friendships. Here, your north node, what you're here to do is to speak and work from your heart in a particular vocation. Okay, hope that wasn't too jumbled, but very fascinated with your chart. Now I look over here as well, and you're pretty well balanced, okay? Your light on fire that is mutable. There's nothing here. Or air that is mutable. So the idea of, do you have thoughts and passions that might, you know, stay open to change? Oh, we got to go to Chicago, not LA. Quick change, you know, so that might be a little harder if you don't have planets in the mutable area in these two signs of fire and air. Everything else looks pretty good. Okay, what is it that wants to come through? This is where I have to toggle and remind us where we started in your galactic astrology. We talked about the vertex, right? But your point of origin down here, Draco and Tubin, okay? So if the story is right that you're from, you know, your soul originated in the constellation Draco on a fixed star called Tubin, I went to look it up for you. Okay, and I see it right here, again in the 11th house. See, it says THUB. On this side, it'll say Tuban, which is sitting at 6 degrees Virgo when you were born, 55 minutes. But look how tight. See those two little blue lines, Vicky? It's sitting right next to, conjunct is the word, your Pluto. So let me just stop sharing for a moment. So what does that mean? Let's see if we can weave a little narrative. Draco. Some people learning about the stars get very nervous about that particular constellation. It represents sometimes the narrative of, I wanted to say reptilian energy, okay? But when you think about how our souls, forget about the body, but our souls sometimes play, let me expand, so I'll be the good guy and then I'll be the bad guy, but I just want to learn how to expand. So sometimes I'm more the bad guy than the good guy. But that said, when you look at the origin story of Draco and Tubin in particular, there is this idea of the dragon people, okay? And that's connected oftentimes to Asia. And you'll see it in the sculpture and the artwork of the female with the dragon body. I know many times in Chinese New Year, the year of the dragon, many Asian families around the world want to have their babies born in the year of the dragon. Here in America, we're still kind of like, oh, polarized, good guy, bad guy. But the dragon energy is the ancient beings. So we can hold the thought that you originated as one of the master, what's called Naga, N-A-G-A. You can Google that if you choose to. But the Naga really were some of the ancient wise ones. And yeah, they might have had a little bit of a snake body. But it's this idea of the belly of the snake, you know, working with Mother Earth, really attuned and grounded to the earth. Whereas in our modern society, we're so up in our heads and we're so up in the air and thought that we forget to come back down and learn the ancient, especially divine feminine medicine woman. That's what the Naga and the ancient people from Tubin, that's the positive side. And so I'm still learning in this galactic astrology. I'm very sensitive to anything that gets too conspiratorial because I think, hey, we were all a part of it. We were all at some point in our many lives, the good guy or the bad guy. So let's just figure out what is the message? What is the story? I would say if you've ever done anything with Kundalini yoga or to activate that serpentine double snake energy within the body, that is a beautiful way to connect into the solar system, into other dimensions. So when we do yoga, we embrace it and we call it Kundalini. When we say Draco or Tubin, it's just this idea, oh, reptilian. No, we'll hold it the way you feel comfortable, San Francisco, Vicky. But I personally also have two soul connections to Draco. And so I had to learn a little bit more about it too, how to hold it. And it's fascinating because when you go to the origin story of Earth, you know, you go to the very, very beginning, which in my heart, there's a part of me, there's a fractal of me that knows we were all there at the beginning. All of us, we were just there. Okay. And in the beginning, I do believe there was dragon energy. There were the early creators. So, and the dragons are the gatekeepers with energies. And you oftentimes, especially in Europe, you'll learn about the ley lines. People call that the dragon lines. So what that is, in case someone listening doesn't know, it's like when we have meridians of our human body, we can't see them. We just know if you decide to go do acupuncture, it opens up channels that are within the body, but they're invisible. So it's an energy flow. So too with the earth, Mother Earth, she has dragon lines or ley lines, and that is just the energy. There's a Mary line and a Michael line in the UK, you know, but there's dragon lines throughout the globe. So how do you hold your dragon? Are dragons of a particular interest to you, Vicky? And anyone else that has a particular soul connection to Draco? So thank you so much for inviting me to give you a quick little mini. I'm going to end by just reminding everybody, I'm going to go back here. So the new landing page for these free online calculators is at galacticastrochart.com. galacticastrochart.com. If you search for the other calculator at starseedsastrology.com, it doesn't exist anymore. So this is a recent change. Oh, I got to make one more shout out. So San Francisco Vicky, when you start looking at your chart, if you decide to do this, just count how many Andromeda connections you have. You have quite a few. Look at this. And down here, Alpheratz, Titowin, Almach, Alpheratz, the vertex. In addition, you have the galactic center here and the galactic center there. And over here, the galactic center. You've got a lot of galactic centers. So what I see is quite a bit of portal, Stargate portals that, oh wow, look at your Uranus. My goodness, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 soul connections. Yeah, wow. So fascinating. It would be nice to meet you one day in person, Vicky. The 29th degree in both your sun and your moon, and they're opposing one another. And then this idea of originating in Draco and then having all these Stargate portals. I just personally wonder what your dream life is like. And if you do meditation, if you're able to pop out of your body and travel or do lucid dreaming. So thank you for allowing me to practice. I probably have about 5 more folks, and then I'm wrapping it up because I got to get certified. Okay, till next time, everybody. See you again on the Ascension Playground. Take care. Bye-bye. And I just wanted to give a final shout out. Thank you. We're at over 325 subscribers. I so appreciate it. All of us on the Ascension Playground, we're excited about moving to one day. The 501st subscriber will allow us to have a community page. And you know, that keeps me going. It keeps me doing more YouTubes and feeding the channel from my heart to yours. It's exciting because I really want to link up with other communities and start sharing the sites, especially the guests who come on the playground. So thank you for liking, subscribing, and adding comments, because all of that, it really does help build our playground. Okay, see you next time.